So we'll now have a Dharma talk for adults. And today I'd like to talk about why I'm karma's fool and why true self-awareness ain't pretty. Let's begin with the words of Shinran Shonin. I am such that I do not know right and wrong and cannot distinguish false and true. I lack even small love and compassion, and yet, for fame and profit, enjoy teaching others. The words of Shinran Shonin in the Hymns of the Dharma Ages, verse 116. The Collected Works of Shinran, Volume 1, page 429. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So these words of Shinran Shonin are really quite remarkable. Shinran Shonin wrote the Hymns of the Dharma Ages in his later years, when he was recognized and revered as a teacher, a scholar, and author. Shinran's degree of self-awareness is really notable, but the fact that he shares his lamentation, his regrets, is even more remarkable. So awakening in Jodo Shinshu tradition has two aspects: awakening to one's true self and awakening to one's Buddha nature. So this awakening is simultaneous, it's dynamic and transformative. This awakening is called Shinjin, or the entrusting heart, is usually the English translation. And Shinran teaches that Shinjin is the true cause of birth in the Pure Land, and thus is the true cause of one's ultimate enlightenment and becoming Buddha. So think of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism as a religion of awakening. Awakening to the true self and awakening to our Buddha nature. So in the light of wisdom, illuminated in the light of wisdom of Amida Buddha, in Shinjin we see two realities. One, reality as my ego wants it to be, and two, reality as it is. Reality as it is. So seeing reality as my ego wants it to be, expecting the world to revolve around me. The world revolves around Carrie. Living life as it's about me. Shakyamuni Buddha taught that this attachment to self, this egocentricity, that this is the cause of suffering because the self does not exist. And reality as my ego wants it to be is an illusion created by the human brain. It's a delusion. It's a delusion. It's an illusion that we willfully choose to believe. And thus, it is a delusion. We delude ourselves into thinking the reality that I want, that my ego wants, is true. But it's an illusion. It's an illusion. So, and that's why, but we're so convinced, right? That's why when things don't work out the way we want, when we don't get what we want, when we're inconvenienced, we get angry, we get hateful, we get greedy. And I think we can see this today with the restrictions placed on our personal freedoms by the COVID-19 public health emergency. It's really easy to say, I really don't want to be cooped up in my home all the time. I don't want to wear a mask. I wish I could go to the beach. I wish I could have a barbecue with my family and friends like we always do for Labor Day weekend. And this is Labor Day weekend. So it's really easy to get when we're inconvenienced like that, to get angry. It's because we're so attached to this idea that reality, exists for me, that the world revolves around Carrie. So this is ignorance or foolishness. So despite knowing the truth, despite knowing better, we insist upon thinking things and saying things and doing things that create suffering for ourselves and or others. So the darkness of ignorance, the depth of human delusions, the capacity for karmic evil that lurks inside all people can only be illuminated by the infinite, unhindered light of wisdom that is Amida Buddha. And our attachment to self is so strong that we can't break it on our own. And thus we continue to think, say, do stupid things that cause suffering for ourselves and others. Now, our heart of compassion despairs because we cannot change. We cannot become better. We don't want to be this person who's causing suffering for other people. And we try, but we cannot change. We remain addicted to ourselves. So the wisdom of Jodo Shinshu guides us to the simultaneous realization that I am karma's fool, that I am the fool. And Amida has always been working in my life. Amida's vow, the primal vow, the 18th vow, is for me. Amida's got my back. And Amida's looking out for me, not because I'm good, but because I am a silly, self-centered, foolish being. Amida's vow is for me because I am karma's fool. I am the karma's fool. Shinran spoke of his Shinjin experience in this way. When I deeply considered the vow of Amida, which arose from 5 kalpas of profound thought, I realized that it was entirely for the sake of myself, Shinran, alone. Then, how I am filled with gratitude for the primal vow, in which Amida resolved to save me, though I am burdened with such heavy karma. The words of Shinran Shonin. Namo Amida. You can find this passage in the postscript of a record in Lament of Divergences, or the Tanisho. So, Jodo Shinshu is not about using Buddhism to become a better person, or using Buddhist practices to become a better version of myself. Although that's very admirable. There's nothing wrong with that. The practice of Nembutsu, saying Namo Amida Butsu, and the practice of deep hearing, so consciously, deliberately, and continually listening to, also studying the Dharma, to lead one to reality as it is, awakening to reality as it is. So we are already embraced by Amida's compassion and illuminated by Amida's wisdom, because we are karma's fool. The awakening to one's true self, so one's true nature as a self-centered, foolish, absolutely ordinary human being, is not very pretty. We don't want to think about that too much. Receiving the entrusting heart of Shinjin through other power of Amida's vow, it doesn't make you a better person. You are who you are. So receiving the entrusting heart of Shinjin through the other power of Amida's vow wakes you up to the real you. And this leads back to the opening passage by Shinran Shonin. I am such that I do not know right and wrong, and cannot distinguish false and true. I lack even small love and compassion, and yet for fame and profit enjoy teaching others. The words of Shinran Shonin. Namo Amida. So it's one thing to realize that your true self is this self-centered, foolish, ordinary being driven by ego and our base instincts. And it's another to write about it publicly. And so almost 800 years later, these words are still here. So as a teacher, right, the confession, I am such that I do not know right and wrong and cannot distinguish false and true. Doesn't this disqualify you from being a teacher? Why should anyone believe you? I lack even small love and compassion, and yet for fame and profit enjoy teaching others. As a Honganji Hawaii minister, this is a critically important passage. Why do I think that I'm qualified to teach the Jodo Shinshu teachings? It's tempting to say because I want to help people, but that's the PR guy in me talking. It sounds good, makes a good soundbite. Sensei, why did you become a minister? Because I want to help people. It sounds really good, makes me look good, right? But in reflection, right, I lack even small love and compassion because I only love me. I only forgive myself. I only have compassion for me. Other people, less so. So if I'm totally honest with myself, I like teaching. I enjoy teaching because I love the sound of my own voice. The sound of my own voice. I love the spotlight. I love standing in front of an audience, right? And I'm addicted to applause. So what a great job, right? A Honganji minister, what a great job. I get to tell people how to live your life. Right? So the one thing in Shinran's writing that's not necessarily true is, and yet, for fame and profit, enjoy teaching others. Right? On a Honganji Hawaii minister's salary, I'm not going to get rich and famous doing this, that's for sure. And from the perspective of American culture, why the heck would anyone choose to become a minister with Honganji Hawaii? It's not for the money. It's not for the fame. So there must be other reasons. And so in reflection, the reasons that I think are most important to me at this point in time, I have found the place where I'm supposed to be. This is where I fit in. This is the place I'm supposed to be. I have found the purpose of my life. And I have the opportunity to be the fool that I am every day. It's a very liberating experience. You are free to be the fool that you are. So when I think about it, I spent most of my adult life striving and trying to appear smart, successful, a winner. And ironically, or maybe not ironically, most of my adult life has been characterized by high stress and compulsive bad habits to deal with that stress. So the career that I had invested so much in, that I thought was so important, it didn't work out the way I wanted. And that career required me to become a person I didn't like very much. And yet, the causes and conditions of my life have brought me to Makuo Honganji as an ordained Buddhist priest and a temple minister. So this is the inconceivable other power of Amida working to save me, the karmic fool. What led me to become an exchange student in Japan, where I met Mimi, the love of my life? What led me from the streets of Los Angeles to a 25-year career as an executive expatriate in Japan and China? What led me into the front doors of Mo'ili'ili Honganji after my career as an executive had imploded? What led me to pursue Tokudo ordination as a priest and then Kyoshi certification as a teacher and then becoming a temple minister in my mid-50s? And what led Mimi to agree to become a minister's wife? I think it was insanity, but temporary insanity. Actually, Mimi is delighted that we get to live in Makuo and Maui, surrounded by such a wonderful community, a temple, and Sangha. So the only explanation that I can come up with is that Amida has always had my back. Amida's always been watching out for me, has created the primal vow for me. So great compassion manifested in my life. Amida manifested in my life as my parents, my brother and sister, my teachers, my mentors, and my friends who guided me through life, who got me over the bumps of life. And infinite wisdom, the light of infinite wisdom of Amida, manifested as a 40-year path that returned me to my Buddhist roots. It took me 40 years to come all the way back. And thus, I have no doubt that I will be born in the Pure Land when I die. I have no doubt that I will realize supreme enlightenment and become one with Amida. I have no doubt I will return to this world in oneness with Amida to help guide others to their self-awakening and receiving Shinjin. And yet, like Shinran, I can see myself as a self-centered, foolish, ordinary being, driven by my ego and my base instincts. How stupid is that? How stupid am I? How incredible is the compassion of Amida, who embraces me of all people. And through this compassion and wisdom, I see my true self. I am the karmic fool. And this frees me. I am liberated. I am free to be the idiot that I truly am. I am free. I am free. I am free. Free at last. Free at last. Thank Amida Buddha. I am free at last. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. In the words of Honen Shonin, just say Namo Amida Butsu and be saved by Amida. There is nothing else involved. Honen Shonin was Shinran's great teacher. Namo Amida Butsu. And if saying Namo Amida Butsu is not for you, just say Mahalo. It'll be okay. Mahalo to all of you for listening this morning, and may your day be filled with aloha. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.